and slamming the door. The next hour was a nightmare of linguistic gymnastics. Jack had to explain the situation to Biff in the kitchen, while Jana and Chrissy tried to entertain the Commodore in the living room. "You're pretending to be what?" Biff roared, fortunately muffled by the sound of Jack running the blender on high. "It's for the rent, Biff. Santa Monica is expensive. Just play along. Pretend you're refined. Talk about curtains. Mention the flow of the room." Biff looked like he wanted to cry. "I'm a Henderson. Jack, we don't flow. We crash." The climax came when Helen Roper invited herself up for coffee, hoping to catch a glimpse of the new decorator. Jack found himself in the middle of a farcical storm. Every time Biff started to talk about the Navy or girls, Jack had to pivot the conversation to crochet or Soulful Heights. "So, Mr. Henderson," Helen said, eyeing Biff's biceps, "what would you recommend for my kitchen?" "It's a bit olive." Biff looked at Jack, eyes pleading for death. I'd put some frilly stuff on the windows, you know, to catch the light and the, oh, God, help me. He means lace." Jack jumped in. "Masculine lace. It's the new trend in Milan." Somehow, they survived the afternoon. When Biff finally left, he looked more exhausted than he ever had after a month at sea. "Jack," Biff said at the door, "you're a brave man. I'd rather face a typhoon than another conversation about masculine lace. But I'll keep your secret, mostly because I'm too embarrassed to tell anyone the legendary Tripper thinks lace is trending." As the door shut, Jack collapsed against it. Masking masculinity is harder than cooking for Pringle, he groaned. Jana patted his shoulder. "Cheer up, Jack. At least now we know who to call if we ever need the curtains." Punched. Chapter 22. The Bed of Silence. It began with a simple disagreement over who talked the most. "It's definitely Chrissy," Jack said, lounging on the sofa. "She can turn a story about buying milk into a 3-act play with a cliffhanger. I do not." Chrissy pouted. "Jana is the one. She's always lecturing us about the botanical integrity of the apartment." "Me?" Jana laughed. "I'm the soul of brevity compared to you two. I bet I could go longer without speaking than both of you combined." "You're on," Jack challenged, sitting up. "A bet. The first one to speak has to do the dishes, the laundry, and the bathroom scrubbing for a week. The last one silent wins the Roommate of the Year title and doesn't have to pay for the next Beagle round." The rules were set. Silence descended over apartment 201 like a heavy velvet curtain. For the first 10 minutes, it was peaceful. By the 20th minute, it was eerie. By the hour mark, it was war. Communicating through charades and frantic notes on napkins became the new norm. Jack tried to ask where the butter was by mimicking a cow and then spreading invisible goo on a piece of bread. Chrissy thought he was having a stroke and tried to perform the Heimlich maneuver on him. The real trouble started when the doorbell rang. It was Larry. "Hey, kids, I've got a great deal on a..." He stopped. looking at the three roommates who were staring at him in total silence. Hello. Is this a game? Is it National Mime Day? Jack desperately wanted to tell Larry to leave, but the thought of the bathroom floor kept his lips sealed. He pointed at the door. Larry, confused, walked in anyway. So, I got this car. It's a classic. Only has 3 wheels, but the 4th one is a state of mind. Jana held up a sign. We are busy. Busy doing what? Staring contests. The tension reached a breaking point when Stanley Roper entered behind Larry. Tripper, the sinking 100 for his leaking, and since you're the handy one, I need you too. Roper stopped. He looked at Jack. Jack looked at Roper. Jack pointed at his mouth and shook his head. What? You lost your voice. Did you swallow a lemon? Chrissy began to dance, trying to explain the bet through the medium of interpretive movement. She spun around, pointed at the kitchen dishes, and then did a scrubbing motion on the floor. She's finally lost it. Roper whispered to Larry. The blonde has finally cracked under the pressure of living with a decorator. Jack realized he had to get them out before Roper suspected something worse. He grabbed a notepad and wrote, larynx infection. Very contagious. Leave now. Roper and Larry scrambled out of the apartment as if it were on fire. The silence continued into the evening. The trio sat around the kitchen table, eyeing each other like gunslingers in a spaghetti western. Jana was reading a book. Jack was meticulously peeling a grape, and Chrissy was staring at a fly on the wall. Suddenly, a massive crash echoed from the bedroom. Jack's prized collection of ceramic chef figurines, which he had spent months arranging on a shaky shelf, had finally succumbed to gravity. My chefs! Jack screamed, jumping to his feet. He froze. The silence was broken. Jana and Chrissy immediately burst into triumphant laughter. Dishes! Jana cheered. Laundry! Chrissy sang. And the bathroom, they said in unison. Jack looked at the shattered remains of Chef Pierre and Chef Francois on the floor. He sighed, the weight of a week's worth of chores already settling on his shoulders. You know, Jack said, picking up a ceramic hat, next time, let's just bet on who can cook the best dinner. At least then, even if I lose, I still get to eat. Jana smiled, handing him the sponge. Nice try, Jack, but I think Chef Pierre would agree. Silence is golden, but scrubbing is mandatory. Chapter 23, The Double Date Disaster. Opportunity or disaster often came in pairs. For Jack Tripper, it was to phone calls within 10 minutes. The first was from Debbie, a beautiful blonde he'd met at the supermarket while arguing over the ripeness of a melon. The second was from Monica, a sophisticated brunette he'd been trying to impress at the community college library. By a stroke of sheer Tripper-esque bad luck, both women wanted to go to the Blue Lagoon, the trendiest and most expensive restaurant in Santa Monica, at 8 p.m. on Friday. I can't say no to either of them. Jana, Jack lamented, pacing the kitchen. Debbie thinks I'm a high-flying talent agent, and Monica thinks I'm a struggling poet. Why don't you just tell the truth, Jack?" Shauna suggested.